Hey, everybody. One of the most common questions I get, one of the most common issues that people have, parents have when they come to me in regards to mindset training and mental training for sports, can be summarized in one word: confidence. When they watch their kid play, they just don't have confidence. And that could look a number of ways, right? Um, it could look like hesitation, right? Before a big moment or when they're supposed to execute, they could hesitate. It could be getting really down on themselves afterwards. It could be like even when they do perform, they don't feel like it was enough or sufficient. They could be pretty hard on themselves. It could also just seem like a lack of joy. A lot of times they're not, a lack of confidence comes across not only as anger, but it can come across as just sapping the joy and being sad, not enjoying the game while they play. There's a lot of reasons for low confidence in sports and in athletes, and I'm not going to go through each and every one of them because we'll be here for a super long time. But a couple of super common ones: fear of failure. That's a massive one. Athletes fear that when they make a mistake or they fail, that is going to mean that the coaches, parents, and their peers are really going to come down upon them. It doesn't matter their effort or how hard they tried. If they fail, someone's going to let them have it and let them know that they messed up. That ties so closely to their self-worth and self-value, by the way. They see themselves as insufficient, not having enough inherent value. And they carry that with them off the field too, off the court too. They carry that with them through academics, social interactions, dating. They feel inadequate. Comparison with others, boy, especially if there is some stud athlete, some freak athlete who just falls out of bed in the morning and is fantastic at everything they do. Having us as parents talk about them or their teammates talk about them, especially with ladies for whatever reason, comparison is massive. They see a comparison with others. They see more skilled teammates or opponents, and that could lead to a feeling of being inadequate. Pressure. This is an interesting one. Whether it is real, coaches and parents are really actually putting pressure on the kid, or they just perceive it that way. High expectations and pressure from coaches and from adults leads to anxiety, fear of failure, and decreased self-confidence. See how these things kind of snowball together. That's the big thing, is that as parents and coaches, sometimes we don't feel like we're doing that. Like, oh, I'm not putting pressure on my kids. But honestly, that's not up for us to decide. That's up for the kid to decide. We cannot tell the kid, oh, I'm not putting pressure on you. You don't need to feel pressure. If they feel pressure, we need to look at ourselves as parents and as coaches and say, what am I doing to add to that anxiety? And we need to change. Past negative experiences. Any one of those things that has happened in the past carries forward into the future. I've had a few athletes on my fast pitch team that I had in the past, and honestly still in the current, really bad experiences with coaches. Coaches who have yelled at them, screamed at them, belittled them. This goes beyond the perceived pressure. This is actual pressure and belittlement. And I remember when I first met some of these athletes, they were very, very guarded. They did not smile. They didn't have fun. They didn't laugh at my jokes. They were very skeptical of me as a coach. And honestly, rightfully so. If past experiences have led to your athlete being very skeptical and cautious and hesitant on a new team or with any other coach or parent, completely understandable. That event that happened in the past creates a story that they continue to tell themselves, that they're inadequate, not good enough. So that takes time to undo. Think about it. Well, let me finish with one or two more reasons, and then we'll talk about undoing it. Lack of enjoyment. I'm big on this one, and a lot of material or coaches or people who talk about mental training do not talk about this. Lack of enjoyment is massive. It's a game. It is a game, and they are kids. Even if you're playing at a national level. Listen, my oldest son plays soccer at a national level, National Premier League. There's not too many levels higher than that. He could do something like MLS Next, or join an academy of a professional team. Like, that's fine. But even at a national level, National Premier League level, I stress to him all the time, you need to have fun when you train. You need to have fun when you play. It doesn't mean goof off. It means enjoy the moment. Enjoy what you can do. Enjoy your teammates. When sports becomes too much about performance and results and not enough about enjoyment, even just enjoying what you can do as an athlete, it really diminishes an athlete's confidence and motivation significantly. Now listen, as much as I want to say there is a quick 3-step thing you can do to instantly rebuild your athlete's confidence, that is not true. That's not true. We can do things in the moment to make things more enjoyable in the moment, to alleviate pressure in the moment, but to rebuild confidence is a journey. The way I like to tell people is if you've walked down a certain path for 5 miles and you realize that path is all about anxiety and a lack of self-confidence and a loss of enjoyment, in order to get on the path that is confidence and enjoyment and peak performance and peak play, you can't just transport there. There is some work you need to do to back through those 5 miles to then get on the right path. Now, I'm not going to tell you that if they've had 3 years of bad experiences, it's going to take 3 years to fix it. That's not the case. We can expedite that, travel back on that path. We can do things to speed it up if we're very intentional about what we do and very careful with the techniques we choose. But to think that in one weekend you can institute 3 steps and have your student athlete suddenly become massively confident, that's not a thing, friends. It's not. Think of it this way. If you don't like that path analogy where we need to travel back before we can go on the right path, or even travel back a little bit to take a shortcut, think of it this way. We quite literally need to rewire your brain. There are stories our kids are telling themselves, triggers and signals that put them in a place of anxiety, lack of confidence, lack of enjoyment. We need to rewire that. And that does not take a weekend. It does not take 3 simple steps. With that being said, let me talk about some things we can do for rebuilding confidence in our young athletes. First, and this is like the touchy-feely side of my coaching. If you're looking for a former Marine, a drill instructor, we're building mental toughness by submerging you underwater, probably not the course for you. I'm probably not the coach you need. The first thing we need to do is have a very open and honest dialogue with our kid about how they feel about their sport. And really, I'm going to change the word. It's not a dialogue, an open and honest monologue. 1, not dialogue. 2, monologue. 1. This is going to be really, really hard for parents. Super hard. We need to shut up. We need to shut up and listen and let our kid talk. This is for a couple reasons. Number 1, as soon as we interject, it tells them that what they're trying to tell us is not important. Especially if we interject to correct, clarify, give our take on it, it immediately diminishes what they're trying to do. Number 2, it's a monologue because they need to feel that when they share this, that they're not alone in it. Listen, a lot of our kids have kept these feelings of inadequacy, low self-esteem, low value, low worth, lack of enjoyment. They've kept it inside because they're afraid of how we're going to react. So without judgment, without us giving our 2 cents, we need to listen. And honestly, the only things that should come out of our mouth are, thank you so much for sharing that. Can you tell me a little bit more? And when they're done, tell them how brave they are. Well, let me rephrase that. Say this. I know that wasn't easy. That was hard. Thank you so much for trusting me. You are not alone in this, and I love you. And whatever you need to fix all that, to work through all that, I'm committed to doing for you. And then you hug them so hard. You squeeze them until their head's about to pop off. And if that was the end of the How to Rebuild Confidence in Young Athletes talk, that would be enough. We think we listen, but we don't. We wait for our turn to talk. And then when we listen to our kids will turn into people who listen to others. Okay, more tactical things, because I know that's what you really want. You don't want to hear about this validating them and letting them know they're not alone in it sort of stuff. So just to appease, I'll go ahead and give some tactical. These are kind of in sequential order. This is how I would address things sequentially after having that first listening session, that first monologue with my kid. So we would begin with kind of like an initial current state assessment. After that talk, and I wouldn't jump into this right away after the talk. I might come back to this in a day or two. Let things really marinate. Because for the kid, this is cathartic. Holding all this in for so long and suddenly you get to let it go. That is emotionally draining. All right? So give them a day, give them 2, right? And then ask if this is something they want to do. Say, hey, let's take inventory of where you're at. Let's set some goals. I think we can beat this. I think you can be confident again. I think you could have fun again. Let's work on recapping. And you can lead this by saying, hey, this is what I think I heard you say. And then you can write them down or list them out and say, did I hear you, or would you change this? And then once, have a little bit of back and forth. Remember, my favorite thing, thank you. Tell me more about that. Once we understand the current mindset of our athlete, their fears, their challenges, let's be realistic with what kind of goals we set. And this is massively important. You've heard a lot about big goals, or a BHAG, if you heard that one, big, hairy, audacious goal. This is not what we're doing right here. We're not going to go from you lack self-confidence, you're anxious every time you step on the court, your self-worth is tied to your performance, and you feel like coach or mom or dad or aunt or uncle or whoever is going to judge you, to, all right, here's 3 steps to go pro. That's not it. That's not the goal we're trying to set. Realistic, achievable goals could be, what if we could do something so that the next time you go to practice or go to a game, you have a technique you can do that'll lower your anxiety just a little bit. That is an achievable goal. What if, after every practice or game or training session, I said one thing that I'm proud of, and you said one thing that you're proud of, and we just celebrated that? Those are real achievable goals and small steps towards go pro. That's fine. Number 2, that was number 1, kind of an initial, here's where we're at, and set some realistic goals, some simple realistic goals. Number 2 is this: encourage a growth mindset. What I might even do is I might look at that piece of paper where we've written down the ideas on, or I might list them out again. Hey, these are all the things you're struggling with. I would let them know that all these challenges, all these blockers, barriers, troubles, these all represent an opportunity. Every great champion, every great hero has a story of overcoming something. And this could be your opportunity to overcome something. Wouldn't it be awesome if years from now, when you're a pro or you're a coach or you're taking your kids to practice in games, you could share the story about how you had these seemingly monstrous blockers in your way, but instead you saw them as opportunities for growth and you overcame them? What a cool story that would be. It'd be like a Netflix special. As a matter of fact, I have a document that could help with some mantras and affirmations that could help to build this. I call this a growth mindset. Help to build this growth mindset that says all these things that maybe are not going well, that are blockers or obstacles or challenges, I'm going to choose to see these as opportunities instead. And mantras help with that significantly, because what we say, we end up ultimately believing. If we say we're dumb, we're not good, we're a poor player, everyone's better than us, if we say that enough, what are we going to believe? And then what's going to come true? That's how we got here. So what if we changed what we said? Even if we didn't believe it at first, but we said enough over and over again, I'm strong enough to rise to this moment. I'm strong enough to rise to this moment. I'm strong enough to rise to this moment. Then we start to believe, hey, maybe I am strong enough to rise to this moment. And then we believe it for a while. And then eventually we rise above the moment. Everything starts here. And then here we believe it. And then it happens. I'll share that document with you. It's fantastic. Next, visualize. Once you've set the goal and you've determined that you have a growth mindset to overcoming these obstacles, achieving those goals, quick visualization techniques. Visualization is supremely powerful. One of the best ways to see this in action, I believe we have the Winter Olympics coming up. When are the next Winter Olympics? Well, if you can, when you watch the Winter Olympics, downhill skiers, slalom, they from the top of the mountain, they can only see a little bit of the course, but they know in their head what the whole course looks like. Every turn, every decline, they know it all. Almost always the cameras are able to catch an athlete before they leave the gate. And sometimes they're sitting with their eyes closed and you can actually see them moving. Bobsledders do this too. They actually will be sitting still and they'll do the turns and they'll do the turns. They're visualizing in their head that whole run ahead of them. Divers do it. Sometimes gymnasts do it. A lot of athletes do it, but the Olympics are the best place to watch it happen because the cameras sometimes catch this. Visualization helps them to imagine executing these things successfully and achieving their goals. And again, just like our words will ultimately determine our reality, that visualization will ultimately determine our reality. There's a really, really cool study that I teach my athletes. It was done I'm not going to cite the whole thing. I'll summarize it real quick. Done at the Cleveland Clinic. Essentially, they had a group of people go to the gym to do bicep curls. They had a group of people stay home and do nothing. That's the control group. And they had a group of people visualize doing those bicep curls. They visualized really straining hard and what their muscles would feel like and what the gym would look like and smell like. Well, of course, the group who stayed home and did nothing did not see results. The group who did go to the gym and did those bicep curls actually saw hypertrophy. They saw muscle growth and strength. But interestingly enough, the group that just visualized it, what it would look like, feel like, smell like, they actually experienced muscle growth. Not as much as the people who did the dumbbells, but they experienced muscle growth just by thinking about it. Our brain cannot always tell the difference. Visualize success, and that'll increase your odds of it becoming a reality. So, kind of an initial assessment, set some goals, encourage a growth mindset, visualize. Positive reinforcement. This is where we as parents and coaches come in. We need to detach that kid's praise, that kid's recognition, that kid's self-worth from outcomes, from performance. Catch them with a good attitude and a good effort. And guess what? You can always do that. Always. Catch that attitude, catch that effort, and reinforce it. That was awesome. That, you know what? What's a good one? I want to steal someone else's. So I'll steal theirs first, and I'll think of my own. It's actually posted on my account here. Someone tells a story about being in high school, hitting a ground out to short, and feeling bad about that. But after the game, when they talked to their dad said, man, when you hit that ball to shortstop, you flew down that first base line. Even some of the people in the stands said, wow, that kid's really getting down the first base line. That was awesome. He said he remembered that even into college ball. And when he would hit a ball on the ground, he would hustle down to first so hard because he remembered what was said. It wasn't, did you roll over that ball? Like, did you swing at a bad pitch? You should be elevating the ball. You shouldn't be hitting it into the ground. It wasn't that. They found a positive and they reinforced it, and it made a difference in that kid's trajectory of his career. Went on to play college ball. I call this relentlessly seeking the good. Search for it like Indiana Jones searches for ancient archaeological treasures. Go to the ends of the earth, risk death and whatever, risk it all to find positives in the effort and attitude of kids and heap all the praise in the world over that. Let's detach their worth and their value from their performance. The beautiful irony of that is once you detach that, the performance will eventually follow. Seems counterproductive. But let's positively reinforce efforts and attitudes and not worry about outcomes and results for now. Let them embrace mistakes. This goes back to the idea of being afraid to fail. Sometimes I don't even point out mistakes. I usually only point out mistakes when I can see they have a reaction to it. So for example, on my team, we say next pitch all the time. Next pitch. That means forget about what happened. Let's get the next one. And that's it. We move on. Sometimes, so for example, we had, when we played fall ball, a lot of my girls were timid at the plate. They were afraid to swing because they would swing and miss. So I would embrace the mistakes. Everybody's swinging today. Everybody. If you get a hit, great. If you end up walking because they throw 4 really bad pitches, that's good. If you strike out, great. What I don't want to see is the bat on your shoulder. Swing, swing, swing. And when girls came back to the bench after striking out, I was like, that was a great cut. Oh man, when you connect with a swing like that, you're going to do some serious damage. Embrace mistakes. Embrace mistakes. Focus on effort. Mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Learn to breathe. This goes back to that initial goal of lowering anxiety before a practice or a game or a big moment. Learn to breathe. Learn to breathe into your belly using your diaphragm. Learn to breathe slowly. Learn to exhale fully. That breath does such a good job of getting you centered in that moment and detached from all the external noise that raise that anxiety level. Learn to breathe. And then lastly, you have to find a way to bring back fun and enjoyment. You have to. Sometimes as parents, it's out of our control when they're in training or at a game because the coach sets that tone. But you can make sure there's fun before and after when they're training on their own. Find things to laugh about, smile about. And honestly, one of the best things you could say to a kid before they practice or compete, hey, have fun. And remember we talked about being relentless, ruthless about finding good things to positively reinforce. Find any moment where it looks like they had fun and call that out. Hey, I saw you smiling and laughing with, this teammate. That's awesome. Looked like you're having fun out there. That's great. You should do more of that. Those are the steps I would take. I'll tell you what, I'll formalize this in a little document to give to everybody, these steps. I'll even summarize some of the reasons that may lead to a lack of confidence. But if you want to bring confidence back, you're going to have to be patient and understand it is a long work where you only see a little bit of improvement after, time after time. But what do we say? Well, what do a lot of us say? If you just improve 1% every single day, that compounding 1% is going to make you night and day different in 1 year. Night and day. So play the long game, be patient. I'll just recap it all for you. Listen, an initial kind of recap and assessment of where they're at, and set some small, simple, realistic goals. Encourage a growth mindset. Let them know that we see these failures, these challenges, these setbacks, we see them as opportunities to write a really, really cool story that all the great champions and heroes have. It's their turn to write their own. Embrace visualization. Mantras, things we say, visualizations, things we see ourselves doing, those eventually become realities. We as parents need to positively reinforce and relentlessly go after anything good. Let's reinforce that. Find any small moment and heap the praise on them for their effort and their attitude and catch them having fun. What we draw attention to, what we reinforce like that will repeat itself. It's true. I'm training a puppy right now. Positive reinforcement totally works. Learn to breathe. Big, deep, diaphragmatic breaths are scientifically proven to lower blood pressure, heart rate, respiration, anxiety, and stress. Learn how to do it. I teach it. And then lastly, make it fun. Make sure they have fun. Encourage them to have fun. It's hard if you have a coach who doesn't do that, but you as a parent could catch it, reinforce it, and tell them to do it more often. Have fun. All right. There's almost 30 minutes of how to rebuild confidence in your kid. I'll summarize this up. I'll even chop this video up into smaller, more digestible pieces for you, and I'll drip that out. That way, if you want, you can go to one little bit and read about that again. And I'll formalize this in a document for you. I hope all of our kids are a lot more confident and having fun. Because what's true in sport becomes true in life. And sport should be a place where the kids learn that they can do amazing, awesome things, and they can handle anything thrown their way. And if sports aren't that way, then I think we failed somehow. So let's go ahead and change that narrative, shall we? Let me know what questions you have. There's a lot more coming on this topic, but since so many people brought it up, I wanted to spend 28 minutes and 32 seconds talking about it. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a fantastic day.